Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Art of Creation show. I'm your host, Rebecca Boswell, and today we are going to look at how choice creates. That choice creates in different possibilities for creating a life and a living that could actually work for you, whatever that is. And we're going to be playing with our very special guest today, Lorraine Frongillo, and she is the founder of the I Am Institute, as well as the founder and expert formulator for Divine Chalice Botanicals, an organic skincare line. And within those wonderful containers of possibility, she has all kinds of different certifications and trainings and modalities that she plays with. And so today we're going to actually have a conversation about infinite being and being undefinable. So all of those wonderful tools and tips and tricks and experiences that she has from all of these different things are going to come forward today. I'm really excited to chat and to play and welcome Lorraine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm grateful to be here.
Yes, very exciting, very exciting. I know you've been playing in the energetic space and with bodies for quite a while now, and your resume is quite impressive. And at the same time, with all of these different labels and accolades and achievements and things that you've studied and learned, it's beautiful that actually where you're really excited to play is in this place that even goes beyond all of that. So
absolutely.
all to play with, and yet, really going beyond that. So when we look at infinite being, so the topic today, infinite being and being undefinable, can we just start with infinite being, and from your point of view or from what you know, what is this space of infinite being that we are invited to?
To me, infinite being is honestly being that energy, that space, and that consciousness that we truly be. And it's a space of embodiment and a joy of embodiment that really has no solidification. It's really being space far beyond anything we've ever traversed in. So when you're willing to not have any walls and barriers up, we enter and we be actually this space of embodiment that is truly joyful. And the possibilities in the reality beyond this reality are here for us to access. So the more you play with that space of who you truly be, not from the physicality, but from the energy, space, and consciousness that you be, the more you have accessible to you.
Yeah. And we hear so much, even in popular culture, this idea of, you be you, you do you, the power, step into your power, and there's all this languaging and all this desire also to really be fully who we be and who we are, and how to self-actualize and be our full potential, and whatever all the words are. And yet I also see where there is a tendency to have some discomfort with that, or struggle with that, or, a confusion, right? Like, if only I knew what that really is.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
When you're working with clients, I know you've worked with thousands, of bodies and beings over the course of your work, and, physiologically and also energetically. And when people are coming to you and it's like, I don't maybe know exactly what you're talking about, but I know that there's something here for me. And, and they're asking, okay, I would like to try that. I would like to be me. I would like to step into that full being of who I truly, truly am on all these different levels. Where does one begin something so grand and so expansive and something so different than what we're used to playing with in this physical
Right. Every client is different. Every session is different. So when I enter a room with a person or I'm facilitating them over the phone worldwide, I'll ask the question of, if you could get anything out of this session, what would it be? And then I follow the energy of what they can actually receive. If you contribute way more than what a being can receive, it's just not kind. So you are a space of invitation where I'm here with you. I'm by your side. I will contribute to you wherever you would love to go, whatever limitations you would like to break through, and to be way more of you. And so it becomes this invitation of, where can we play? What are you willing to change? And in those moments of discomfort, are you willing to embrace it? When the discomfort shows up, it can be really intense. And if you just drop your walls and barriers and you're present, you'll receive that gift of awareness and that gift of consciousness so much more with ease. So it's when we resist and we react, or we align and agree with all that, that kind of like stops it. And what if we didn't stop receiving? Because actually you can't anyway. I mean, we're receiving everything all the time, right? It's our point of view of, oh, that's too intense, I want to stop. Well, when we stop, it does create a point of creation that isn't always a contribution. So what I do is I will ask questions and I will facilitate that person to a whole different possibility. And it's really their choice to choose it or not. I really function from a place of allowance with all the people that I work with. And like I say, I'm here by your side. I'm willing to go where you want to go. And we can go here, we can go here, we can go here, we can go anywhere you would love to go to facilitate change with ease.
It's really exciting because this whole, this whole possibility of infinite being, it's, they're just inherent in that expression, right? There is no limit to where you can play,
right,
where you can be. And so, yeah, it's really neat to have this sense of like, wow, you can actually access and play with any of the energies that you've ever been, that you would like to be, that you'd like to choose more of, or also to look at the things that you might, like to be released from or release yourself from. So you have something coming up called Harbinger of Possibilities. And I love, first of all, the word harbinger. I just, it really tickles me. And I just was, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about that name, and because there's this also has this sense of future possibility, and what we are also creating as a choice. I become aware of the possibilities for creating a future that, I use the word sustainable. It doesn't mean it has to just stay the same, but where there is actually a viable future that we can all really freely create in and enjoy. So this Harbinger of Possibilities, can you tell us a little bit more about that and what was showing up when you put this creation
sure,
together?
Absolutely, yes. Harbinger, I love that name too. I love that word. It just kind of rolls off your tongue, And so Harbinger to me is a bringer of possibilities that have never been here on this planet. And so for me, I remember, this is where it began for me. So it's like a little story, but I went to a 7-day with Access Consciousness. And when I got back, I was re-listening to the recordings. And at some space on that recording, there was an energetic download that I received. And I closed my eyes, and Rebecca, I became in communion. And it makes me cry because the energy of this communion with space, so to speak, molecules, was so incredible, so beyond definition. And I realized that I just had become it. When I opened my eyes, there was all of this shimmering energy that was around me. And for me, it was this space of like, everything is possible in this space that I just stepped into.
Yeah.
And that's where the Harbinger of Possibilities actually became a creation where I knew there was so much more possible here.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could tap into that, we all have innate abilities to tap into that. I mean, I wasn't probably the only one, I'm sure. We all have that space of possibility. So I created the telecall in 2013. And every time I facilitate that telecall, of course, it's always different.
Mm-hmm.
And there's way more possibility available. So it always surprises me in a joyous way where we're tapping and accessing so many more infinite universes of possibility that you never stop. It's always a greater step. It's always a greater choice. And way more awareness and consciousness is attached to that and present with that. So being the harbinger is like, I love that word too. Again, it just like makes me smile. It's being that bringer of possibility, to be so different, you know, than what this reality is always trying to show us. And when we step out of this reality and into a new reality of infinite possibility, you know, honestly, everything is possible. So it becomes a lot of play and a lot of fun. And every monthly telecall that I have is different. And I can't wait for the next one because I have no idea where we're going. I just know we're going.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. I, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I did just myself sharing some things that have been going on with me over our little break. And it's the same thing, even just talking about it, you know, it was like recently I too had this very different download and the word that I was using, I mean, the word is, you know, it has to do with like peace energy. And like I was saying, that word is so small, like that's not really it. But it's sort of the closest signpost, right? That unity, that union, that
Sure.
oneness, and just that sense of peace and possibility within.
Right.
And even just trying to describe it and talk about it and just accessing it, and the same thing, it's like it just you know, it just every cell, every molecule in the body is just like
Yes, yes.
and I get it, and there's this, I know for me personally, I can say that there's just such a huge desire on my part to you know, I want to shout from the rooftops, and I want to call from the mountains, and I want to send up the smoke signals, and I want everyone to have the possibility of not only experiencing it, but truly knowing it, and then also being the invitation of it further in the world, so that it can actually be a dominant energy on the planet, because it's there, right? It is.
Absolutely.
But whether
Absolutely.
we're tapping into it or not is another question.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
and it is that, I'm sorry, it's that, the communion that you spoke of. It's the communion with everything around us. You know, if we engage right here, right now with one another, and there's no barriers and walls here, and all the people who are watching this or not watching it, but yet they're contributing to this and we're contributing, like there's this wave of subtle communion. And when we actually request to receive that, and then broadband it out, you know, now we're communing with everything, every molecule of consciousness, every molecule of this beautiful, phenomenal earth. You know, I'll go outside and, you know, I will look at a tree and say, hi, and it will start this little wave. And people are like, okay. Well, I'm like, okay, I don't have to prove it because I just know that it's real for me.
yeah.
But it's like all of these things begin to just subtly move, and we're communing. And what if we bring, like you say, we bring that energy here, we invite everyone to that communion of oneness, and it's not a quip. It's a real energetic invitation for us to choose and have more and create a sustainable future here
Mhm.
I like to even perceive way far beyond 10,000 years. Like, what if there were just an infinite amount of years for this beautiful planet? And it's growing, you know, consciousness is expanding. And I see it in the world, you know, where there are just greater things available. And what you focus upon, look upon, whatever, creates. So I choose to perceive the energy of phenomena of everyone, of them being who they be. And it's like you know, in Dr. Seuss, when they're all around that tree, you know, and they're singing and their hearts are growing and they're in communion. And then what happens to the Grinch is all of his walls and barriers melt, correct? And then, you know, his heart, you know, expands through his chest. And, you know, that's communion, you know, on a very, you know, animated scale. But what if that is real?
Yeah. Yeah. And where have we actually experienced it as real, whether we've acknowledged it at the time or not? And that's where, you know, whether it's with myself or with clients or with, you know, all of you watching now, you know, where can you tap in where you maybe haven't recognized it in the moment, but, you know, if you go through the replay, like, okay, wait, I can tap into those moments, and okay, cool, and recognize them, acknowledge them, and then open your eyes to be able to see them, perceive them, know that they're there as the new ones come through, so that you can acknowledge them in real time, whatever that is. And oxymoron. And you know, and then expand those moments, bring the people that are in your life, you know, bring them with you if they choose to come, but at least to be aware that they're there, to celebrate them, and to you know, expand those moments until, you know, what would it be like for that to be all the time, right?
And I love that. I love that question that you just asked. And it's for me too. It was like building a muscle, you know, like, and then I would play with it every night. I would be like, I wonder if I can get that space again. And then you realize that you be that space, but it's interesting because it really is building the muscle to the energy that is available to us. And the more we play with it, and the more, and you said acknowledge, which I love that too, because it's true. The more you acknowledge something, the more of it now can show up for you. And it creates a greater invitation too for people. And so when I work with people and things like that, from the first question that you had asked, I don't often use a lot of words. It's working on the bodies and allowing the body and being to commune in oneness, and where would they like to go and what would they like to change. So it's all about it. This whole conversation is really communion in oneness, the harbinger of possibility. We're not taught to commune in oneness here. And we're changing that, which is awesome. You know, all of us who choose something different are actually changing what we've always known this reality to be, which was always based on separation and limitation. So the more we choose it for ourselves, the more you have this trickle effect that goes out, and, you know, it can be like a little tickle and an invitation. And how does it get any better than that?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, we know from science, we have the butterfly effect, and so we know that what we choose may not, you know, even just the breath that we use to speak something can shift and change all the energy between here and somewhere on the other side of the earth, whether it's from the intention or even just from the movement of the particles that then moves and moves, and, you know, suddenly something changes on a different continent. So you know, my wonderful little brain is not quite powerful enough just yet to comprehend and compute all of that, and yet knowing that there are more things here at play than maybe I can compute and comprehend. And what would it take? Maybe if I could actually use more of the brain, it would it would be able to do that. But in this 10 seconds, we're not quite there yet, as far as I know. So what are, you know, so let's say someone is watching right now, maybe
Okay.
it's and and they're listening and they're hearing what we're saying, right? And they're like, okay, like I have no idea, like how do you even do that, right? So easy to get stuck in the how, right? So pod and pock, all that, but there is that perception of like, okay, I like what you're saying, I like the idea of it, but now what's the practical application? Like, how do I get there? So when you work with clients, or maybe even a little sneak peek into your Harbinger of Possibilities, where do you start with someone? What's an exercise, or what's something that that people watching today, that person who's asking right now, that's watching, when they get off this episode, what is it that they can start playing with right away to start accessing this space and just playing with the energy in a different way?
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for that, because I actually love this part of the whole thing. It's like, yay,
Yes.
because I get to play with the energy. So would you be willing to play in this energy for a moment, right, or two? So I do these things along the way in the telecall, and it just creates a whole lot more difference of what has always been possible, but like you say, you didn't know how to access it or something. So there's, we can just do an exercise. So what if right now, if you choose to close your eyes, you can. I actually like doing that, because then it takes me out completely of, this reality of what it always wants to show you. So I'm going to close my eyes for a minute. So would you like to do that? Cool. So drop all your walls and barriers. And if you don't know what those are just the little walls and barriers around us that can stop us from receiving everything. And if we just allow them to drop, and close your eyes and just relax, and feel your feet on the floor. And now feel the floor on your feet. And I'm just going to ask that you just simply, it's an ask your body to energetically expand, to fill the entire room that you're in. And it becomes more space. And it's just an ask, it's nothing that you need to do. And then expand way beyond into the state or the country that you're in. And it's just an ask your body and being to expand way out. And now I'm going to ask that you just simply ask to expand way beyond this planet. And just relax, take a breath. Any little walls and barriers that want to come up of doubt or anything, those are just things that show up to say you can't be it or do it. Just simply tell them to go and expand way, way out. And ask to commune with all of the molecules of consciousness. Ask to commune with this phenomenal planet, every molecule of consciousness on the planet, every tree, every blade of grass, every insect, every animal, every person, every being, all of the quantum entanglements of the earth. Quantum entanglements are the string theory. It's interconnectedness of everything. Ask for all the quantum entanglements of every molecule of consciousness. And now expand far greater than you've ever expanded before. And what elementals can you engage with that would create way more possibility than you could possibly imagine? And then just slightly pull energy. It's just an ask. Just pull the tendrils of possibilities through the universes, through your body, through your being. And that one thing that you would love to change or love to have show up in your life, living body, whatever that is. Ask for that now. And then pull all of that energy that is accessible, infinite amounts of energy and molecules of consciousness, just a little knead and tug, a little pull into that of what you are asking for. And then just pull that through your body and your being. And in that infinite space, can you really perceive that you have any edges anymore? Or are you just space? Rebecca, you can answer that. Are you just like space now? Or can you perceive like walls, barriers, or are you just space?
It's just space. It's just, this is just a little dot among all the space of me.
Yeah. And that's you being you. That's you being space is you, the infinite being. So in that space of however way you choose to perceive that, be that, whatever that is for you, that's the ask then. When you're being that space of infinite being, for me, it's like ask from there. Everything is accessible for you to bring here into this reality. Yes, we're creating a reality beyond this reality, but it doesn't mean we're leaving this reality. We're actually pulling the tendrils of possibility to be here now, for us to have way more ease and joy and glory, you know? And it's available and it's possible. And we all have that ability and capacity to have all of everything you've ever known was possible. So yeah, that's my little exercise. And it's that space, like I say, that space is you being you.
It's one of my favorite things to play with and to be reminded, right? To be reminded that, oh, right, that's always here. That's I am always the center of the infinite space. And just as you are the center of the infinite space, right? And
right.
And that it is there. And when we do get sort of bogged down or contracted within the, you know, this sentient reality of like, you know, he said this, she did that, I saw this, I feel this, you know, I look a certain way, someone acted a certain way, then we start to create those walls, those barriers, the boxes, however you want to look at it, that kind of just distracts us or just gets us on that separation side of what's always there and available to us. So this piece of being undefinable kind of segues right here too, because it's like, well, if you're infinite, there is no box, there is no wall, there are no walls, there are no barriers, there is no your body, my body, there is no Lorraine, Rebecca, there is no us and them, there is no this country, that country, there, you know, this planet, that planet, right and wrong, good and bad. All of those definitions, all of those things that create these more solid entities. And I get it. I mean, we use these things as ways to be able to function on this planet in a lot of ways, right? Having these little definitions of every word, right? Having these little packets of pre-packaged energy that we use as words. And, okay, we agree that we're all going to see relatively similar things so that we have a frame of reference. And yet we can create so much magic with that, right? And what if we could also continue to use all of this other magic and possibility and energy together with it? Kind of
right. And
changes it from like a paint by number painting to, a beautiful masterpiece.
Right. And really, what if it's just a choice? Like I said, a little bit ago, you know, I would like wait to go home and like practice it, you know, and be the space. And then, you know, one day I was like, well, wait a minute, you can just be it now. Like any second of every day is like, just be that space because it's who you be. And I love that you said something about the responders, or something you just said about past reference points. And what if we didn't have any reference points? I mean, that truly is the undefinable conversation is, you know, what if you created a different clear slate every day and recreated you where your past didn't bleed into today and the present right now? Like you could just go, oh, it really is just a point of view. If I uncreate and destroy that point of view or that limitation, who would I be today? What would I be? Where would I be? And how would I be here?
Yeah.
So if you had no past reference points, of everybody defining who you be and who you project at yourself of who you be, if you like totally let those go, who would you be? How much more ease would you have? And you wouldn't have the expectation of, I have to live up to, you know, I am this right now because somebody projected that at me. It's just that you can be the space of ease of embodiment where that is being undefinable. You're the space of being, and you have choice every 10 seconds. One of my favorite tools now is like this reality or the new reality. The new reality is the reality of infinite possibilities. So, you know, when you said that you have this little thing that comes up over here to show you separation or judgment, well, cool, interesting point of view. They're choosing that. I choose different. And it comes down to choice. It really comes down now to being so aggressively present that you're aware of what you're thinking and what you're speaking. And if you speak something, you go, oh, hold on a second, this reality or the new reality, and you know it's of this reality, you can just go, oh, yeah, that doesn't, uncreate, pock and pod, right? Uncreate and destroy that. I choose the new reality. And instantaneously, there's a shift that for me anyway, it takes place. It's like instant. And for everybody, it's instant as we choose it. And again, that's building the muscle of where do you truly choose to function from? This is an entirely new reality. And it's way more fun and way more ease. And there will be people who don't choose it. And that's okay. That's not a wrongness either. It just comes down to choice, and it expands our allowance exponentially when we're in allowance of that too. And for those who choose it, it's like, yay, how much fun can we have, right? So, you know, it's just a choice.
It's funny. I was just picturing like camera 1, camera 2, right? Like,
perfect.
Which are it's the same, but like, which are you seeing and through which lens?
Right.
And, you know, I say seeing, but of course, you know, there's also, what are you perceiving? What are you knowing? And I was just talking with a client yesterday, actually, and we're going through something that had occurred with her, and what she came to was, but you know, this is how my family has always interacted in these social situations, and this is how we do it. And I was like, well, okay, cool. And what if you actually got to choose how you do it and how you are going to be in these situations, and you didn't have to follow that learning? Like, okay, cool. Like, they taught you a way and you've chosen it, and you know, it's probably even worked. And now you're saying that didn't work. So what would you choose if you didn't have to choose any of that? And it just was like this moment of like, oh, well, wow. Both exciting and then also a little scary of like, well, geez, I don't know what I would choose, that, you know, because that's always been like, I've always known how I do it. Even if it didn't work, at least, you know, I knew how to do it. So, you know, this can be not only a practice, but it can also be a little bit interesting when you're finding the footing is a little bit different than you're used to, if, you know.
Right. And what if by that person choosing different is the invitation for her family to choose different too? You know what I mean? It's like we open up these spaces and places of like, oh, I'm going to choose this. And it creates this window of possibility for others to choose it too. And again, some may not. And it's not relevant because really it just comes down to their own personal preference of what they choose.
Exactly.
But like I can choose it and you can choose it and we can always choose greater. And yes, it can be like exciting and a little scary because chemically those two things show up the same way in the body. My question would be, are you excited or are you really like scared? Anxiety and excitement show up the same chemically. And so it's funny when we have clients like that and they're like, well, I'm scared. I'm like, well, are you, or are you just excited? And they're like, oh my God, I'm excited.
Yeah. New,
totally
something
opens
new.
up a whole new, yeah. So it's like, it
And
totally opens up this new space of possibility. And, I can speak to this. I am really camera shy. For me to be here with you, yeah. And I'm sure it shows on my face sometimes, whatever, but it's like, for me to be here, with you is, I'm like, well, whose point of view are you buying? Really, like, who does that belong to, right? And so I had to do a lot of talking and potting. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to step into this, even though it's kind of like really uncomfortable for me to be on camera and to be engaging. So I'm here. And then I realized on the other side of that was like excitement, because I can get over my silly point of view too. What's going to happen if I'm on camera?
Yeah.
So I thank you for that too, for facilitating me in that, I got over my point of view. So, and again, of course, the more you engage in something like the camera, the easier it becomes. So thank you for the invitation.
Yes. And, this is such a beautiful, thank you so much actually for sharing that truth, of the situation. Just because this is something that we can all really tap into here, right? And if you had come on and had your walls up and the barriers up and all those things, right, then it would have been probably obvious to all of us and kind of a little weird and maybe even a little uncomfortable. And yet you in this real world, real time example, you actually were being that space that we were just experiencing together and talking about, with your barriers down, which really allows us to be in this flow together, and for everyone watching to be able to receive from you, and for you to be able to receive from them. And I would have never guessed that, because you are the way you are being and showing up with us right now is beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Space. So
thank you so much. Yeah.
So it's great, and we all, that's the practice piece, right? We all have ebbs and flows and moments.
Yes.
And, this is never, at least for me, I can say this is never about perfection and getting it right. And then like, let me tell you, like I can share with you what I've experienced or what I'm in the process of experiencing. And, sometimes there's ease even when the time isn't easy. And sometimes it's, it feels hard and, okay, cool. What am I being asked to acknowledge here? What could I become aware of here? What am I becoming? What am I learning? What am I asking? What am I being asked to grow into? Where those walls and those barriers are so strong that they're creating that perception of it's difficult, right? It's like I'm just bouncing up against my own little box. So what would it take to be the space and then actually,
That's correct. And so what are we being when we confront those walls and those discomfort moments and this and that, and we go, okay, you know what? No more. I'm going to go beyond that. You become more of infinite being. You're being more of you when you choose to be that space, no matter how uncomfortable. Because in those moments, for me too, at least, those moments of discomfort are some of the greatest moments. Like now I'm like, yay, because I know something huge is changing.
Yeah.
And if I stop, that's a kill shot. For me, it's a kill shot. Stopping isn't even in my vocabulary. You just have to keep going, no matter how uncomfortable, because 2 to 3 steps beyond that discomfort is way more of you being you. Mm-hmm. And that's way more of the space of infinite being, So whatever comes up for all of us, we invite you to a whole different way of being, to just, it's not even that you have to face your fears, because we know that fear is a distractor implant. It's not even real. Just call it a lie and move aside and step into that discomfort and embrace it. There's gifts of possibility there. We're just, they show up as uncomfortable because there's no reference point for something so brand new.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, it's like, I'll choose it if I know I'll be safe on the other side.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't always work that way, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. I've been sort of looking at this too, of like, you know, what is this process? And it's like, you know, well, first there's faith, I guess, which is a word that personally I've always kind of, I don't know, I've always chewed on it, and it's been uncomfortable for me, whatever, you know, whatever that point of view is. And it's like, but yeah, that's that thing of like, you just like, you know, you just jump, right? And then you have trust, which is where, you know, maybe you've jumped enough times and landed where you trust that, okay, it will most likely be okay. And then the next one is the knowing of like, you know what, I know that no matter what shows up here, that it's going to work. It's going to be okay. And in whatever way it shows up, even if it doesn't show up the way I think it will. And some people might argue that the faith and the knowing are the same thing. Just the way that it shows up for me, it was that thing of like, well, actually for me, the faith is I don't think I know. Right.
Right.
But I'm going to do it anyway. And then the knowing is like, okay, it's like a body thing. Like, my brain maybe is still kind of going like this, but there's a sense of like,
right.
And that's the knowing of just like,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. When you know there's no thinking, you just know. It's an instantaneous, like you said, you just know.
Yeah.
And that's following the energy, you know, right? Of like, I'm going to follow the energy and do this or choose this, knowing that whatever that is, without having the point of reference of how it's going to show up, which is a really cool point.
Yeah.
Never knowing how it's going to show up, just knowing that it will show up.
Yeah.
The choice, and to go beyond, that leap, you know, go beyond the leap that you think you're taking. I mean, because beyond the leap even is way greater as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Wow. So yeah, I don't know. All these other things are popping up now too, but I you know, just this thing like, you know, people are oftentimes looking at, okay, what are the results? What are the outcomes, right? Especially like in the coaching world, right? And I work with those too. I play with outcomes and results. I mean, a result is just what shows up when you've made a choice. Like, right? I take an action, something shows up. That's a result. Whether it was a result that we desired or something different or something we couldn't anticipate, it's still a result, right? And then the outcome, it's like, you know, I like to use targets, but it's that thing too of like, you don't always know, right? You're playing for a particular outcome. You don't always know that that's going to be the end point, right? And yet it gets you out the door, right? It gets you choosing. It gets you into the world. It gets you to be in the energy and to begin to recognize what's more in alignment with what you're creating, or not necessarily in alignment with what you're creating, but the energy of what you're creating, right? And so, you know, just this thing of like, we never know how it's going to show up. And yet, like you said, you keep following the energy. And that's what actually gets, again, it's linear, but in this conversation, we'll just use that. You know, it kind of gets you to where you're going. Cause I mean, we're always going in a straight line, even if it goes like this, right? If I'm still going straight, even if I'm going straight and then over here, and, you know, like it's depending on how much of it you look at, it's, you know, there's always a linearity to it, even if you're going spherical and, you know, in all kinds of different directions. Anyway,
right.
Point being that, you know, a lot of these things can seem like, when we talk about energy, can seem like maybe they don't fit together with some of these more linear ways of looking at things. And yet when we do take this broader perspective, we realize, or we can really see where we can play with all of them together and just have that little shift in the way that we're looking at things. And so sometimes it's like, oh, playing with energy, that's like that stuff. And like you said, you know, no, this can actually be something that's in our everyday, every moment of just simply being in the world.
Well, it is. I mean, you know, it's everything here is energy, space, and consciousness. But we've been implanted and explanted to believe that it is so linear, and where that's really a lie. Surprise, you know, this reality is filled with those. But energetics is way more real than anything linear. And so for the people who are just kind of dipping their toe in the water here, which is awesome, you know, the beginning point is to just play with, what do you know about energy that you've never acknowledged, that you even could possibly know? And that question will begin to open up doors and windows of possibility, right?
Yeah.
So,
and be ready.
Begin. Yeah, and be ready is right. Because, you know, I mean, because that person who was, like, I find the people who have the apprehension to go there, the people who have these massive, potent capacities and abilities with energetics that they did not acknowledge that they had, for whatever it was. We have a lot of different things go on, and those things can be our stopping point. And then they begin to dip their toe or the wave their hand, and they're like, oh my God. And then they start getting into these spaces of possibility that they never knew they had access to, you know? So I love that, you know, because it's taking them out of linear reality into what truly is the new reality, which to me, it's always been this way. Even when I was just little, was the things that I could not see were actually more real to me than what I could see. And it's an interesting way to grow up, because people will really think that you're very strange or whatever. And I was okay with that. But that was my whole knowing, was that there was always something beyond what I was seeing. And that's where I played.
Yeah.
Right? So what if this linearity is really just a screen? Like you said, camera 1, camera 2. What's possible with camera 2?
Yeah.
By, you know, just waving your hand or playing with this energy or whatever that is, begin and not project of an outcome or anything like that. Just be present with the energy and see where it goes. And like you said, you may be very surprised, you know, and then it becomes so much fun. We all have these capacities. It's innate within all of us. It's not just, you know, a few of us. It's like everyone has capacities that are unique to them. And what would it take for y'all to find out, you know, and play with what they are, you know, and you will be surprised, because it can be mind-blowing.
Yeah. I mean, I even just perceiving, you know, everyone tapping into this space and you know, truly having no separation. What you know, look at all the things going on now on the planet that just wouldn't exist anymore. You know, the wars, the fighting, the anger, the, you know, bickering, all the stuff. So so I invite everyone watching this to please, you know, go back and listen to the exercise again that Lorraine led us through. And, you know, what would it take? What would it take to do that, you know, every morning or every night or once a day, or, you know, however often it's fun for you, even just once, again, and see
create your own.
Yeah, create your own. Yes, exactly. It's simply a launching pad. So so Lorraine, this has been so fabulous to speak with you today, and you know, I really adore the invitation that you've put out into the world.
Thank you.
And I get that there are people watching today that they get the energy that we're playing with here, and it's really exciting. And I wonder what those ripple effects may be, whether we ever know specifically that it was from here, it doesn't matter, but just that a different possibility has been created is really fun for me. So thank you for being part of that. We will have the link to the Harbinger of Possibilities call series in the show notes. So those will be there. So if you are watching and you would really like to find out more about that, you can go and you can click on that link. You also, Lorraine, have another offering coming up, I believe, Out Creating Jack and the Beanstalk, which sounds really fun. So
Yeah.
I will have that link as well. And then you are also offering a special bonus for anybody who is watching. So anybody
Yeah.
who maybe wants or would really be interested in tapping into this space a little bit more, kind of getting a sense of the energetics of what's possible. And those are one-on-one sessions with you. So whether either over the phone or dialoguing, or also as a consultation, or also as an energetic symphony session. That's really, really fun. So, my interesting point of view, if you're really not sure about all this energy thing, a symphony session is a wonderful way to just begin to get turned on to the possibility of energy moving through the body. And so the link to those offers will also be in the show notes. So Lorraine, is there anything before we close today, anything else that you would like to say or share?
I'm just really grateful. Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation and for the energy, space, and consciousness you be, as the infinite being you be. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well then, everyone, thank you for playing along with us today. It's been fun. We will see you again with our next guest next Friday. And we adore having you here. Please like the Facebook page. Please like the YouTube channel or subscribe to it, whatever it is. Click all the bells, the whistles, the ding dongs, whatever, so that you know when we're playing and you can play along again. So we're so grateful for you. And until next week, I wonder what to discover next. Goodbye, everyone.